Now we have an overview of the main sections, the project pane on the left, the big code editor, and the toolbar on the right. Let's just dive straight in and get this project launched on a virtual device, on an emulator. Now, an emulator or a virtual device, for the purpose of this course, they're one and the same thing. It will be a virtual version of a real Android device, and this is really convenient for when we're developing projects. We don't have to keep plugging in our phone every time. We can just launch the app on our computer and see it right there on the screen. So we're going to go over to the toolbar now. So we saw this from the last tutorial where we had the overview of Android Studio, and there's lots of buttons here and weird and wonderful symbols. And the truth is, for most of the time, we only use a couple of these at most. We'll be using the play button, which runs the app, as you can see. And we'll also be clicking these drop downs. If you didn't install an Android virtual device during the setup process, like myself, it will say no devices next to the play button. Okay, so let's click the drop down. There's nothing in here at the moment. There's no Android device that we can select. So we will need to get one set up. And to do that, we'll have to open the Android Virtual Device Manager. So you can see here, open AVD Manager, AVD standing for Android Virtual Device. If you look at the icon, you can see it's a picture of a phone with a tiny little Android icon next to it. If I just click outside of this drop down, you will also see the same icon here. Okay, so these are the two icons we care about right now, the play button and this Android Virtual Device Manager, which is also accessible from here. And that's our way of setting up an Android virtual device. So go ahead and click this Android Virtual Device Manager now from either location. I'll click it from the toolbar. Okay, and we get this rather large Virtual Device Manager screen. The purpose of this Virtual Device Manager is to allow you to set up, if needs be, as many virtual devices as you would like. And this is super useful because you can add a phone, a tablet, as you can see from the image there, an Android Wear watch, an Android TV emulator. This will allow you to add any number of virtual devices of different screens, different versions of the software, some old, some new, without having to go out and buy all these devices. And that's incredibly convenient. So we will go through together now through the process of setting up a virtual device. So click the Create Virtual Device button. And we get this slightly busy looking screen, but if we break it down, you can see on the left we have all the different categories, TV, Wear, tablet, and for the most part we'll just be sticking with phone for now. So phone should be pre-selected, and Android Studio suggestion for the recommended device, the Pixel 2, should be selected. Now in the future you're free to add as many devices from here as you would like, and you can have a play with different models and sizes. A key thing here is to install one that has the Google Play Store icon. This gives us a bit more flexibility. It allows us to actually open up the Play Store and install new apps if needs be, and it makes the app even more like a real phone. So I recommend using one with the Play Store icon. You've got your screen size here and the resolution, so if you want to see how your app looks on a super high res phone like the Pixel 2 XL, you can do. That will give you a clue as to the density. The higher the resolution on the smaller screen, then the higher the density. So I'm going to leave the default Pixel 2 selected, and I'm going to click Next. Now, at this point, we don't actually have any of the Android versions installed. So the default selected on my setup is Android R. But at the point of recording this video, Android R is only in preview. It's not publicly launched yet, so it might not be completely stable. So if you remember back in the installer, I set it to Android 10. You can see it there, which is Android Q, which is the latest public release. So I recommend you match this with whatever you set in the installer. Okay, so because my installer had Android Q, Android 10, I'm going to download this version. So I'm going to click that, download, and we have the Android Software Development Kit License Agreement, so SDK, Software Developer Kit. So again, read as much or as little of that as you would like. And then when you're happy, click Accept, and then Next. And that's going to take quite a while to install, 1.1 gigabytes. This is having to download the actual version of Android that runs on a phone, so it is quite big. So I'm going to pause the installer and unpause it once it's completed. Okay, and mine's finished downloading and installing, so then click Finish. So now you can see Android Q, Android 10 is no longer greyed out in italic, but it's actually there available. So I'm going to select it and then click Next. And then all we need to do now is verify everything's correct. We can call this what we want. You can call it my favorite emulator if you would like. I'm going to leave mine as the default Pixel 2 API 29. Confirming the screen size, the resolution, the version of Android. By default we want it to start as portrait, although we can change that later. There are some advanced settings, and in there you can customize lots of things like the camera, the network connection, as well as how much of your computer's memory to dedicate towards running this emulator. These days Android Studio is pretty good with the defaults there, so you don't actually need to change those. If you have any problems with your emulator, please leave a question or message me privately in the course and I'll give you some support to get it running on your machine. And then we click Finish. And if you've added that device successfully, you will see it in this list here, which confirms the name you gave it, the form factor, whether it's a mobile or a tablet, if it has the Play Store, screen size, version of Android, okay? And in the future, if you want to add more or different devices, you can add them down there in the same way. So we'll close down the Android Virtual Device Manager. And now, if you look back to the toolbar, next to the play button, the run button, we now have that phone we added. And if you click the drop down, it will be under available devices. And the more devices you add, the bigger this list will be. So with the Pixel 2 selected, we can now click Run. So go ahead and do that. That's going to take a moment or two to set up the first time. You see some activity in the bottom here, so we know something's happening. And you can see there the phone is booting up like a normal phone. And it's saying the word install, so our app is being launched on the phone. And there we have our very first app. So when you make an empty Android project like this, you'll get this very simple looking application, and it will have in the middle of the screen the words Hello World. That's a very common thing for most programming languages, to offer the very, very first program to say the words Hello World. Many languages have some version of this. So this now acts and behaves just like a real phone. We can press the back button to exit out of the app. And this takes us to our phone's homepage. We can slide up the drawer like a normal phone by clicking and dragging. We can go to some of the other apps like Google Maps on the phone. I can press the home key. I can press the task switcher button and then go back into the app and then close it again. So if you are at this point now with an emulator added, set up, launched, and with our app running on the phone, then you're in a prime position now to start developing new Android apps and running them quickly and easily to see your progress, which is absolutely fantastic. In the next tutorial, we'll look at installing this on a real device if you have one available. If you don't have one available, then feel free to skip, as this emulator is all you need to learn Android app development.